Tonight, let us step softly into a way of seeing rather than a lesson to learn, a gentle wandering guided by a timeless companion, Leonardo da Vinci. We are not here to memorize, to compare, or to race ahead. We are here to feel the world loosen its grip and to let wisdom arrive like moonlight on still water. What we explore together are not rigid doctrines, but invitations, open doors where the air smells of rain and possibility. We will move by stories and quiet insights, by questions that touch the curious part of the mind that does not demand, but wonders. If there is a transformation awaiting us, it is the simple shift from restlessness to rootedness, from noise to a steady, bright attention that eases the heart. Welcome to Sleepy Philosopher, a sanctuary for the mind. Here you need not fix anything or prove anything. You are allowed to rest, to breathe, to be. If this path of quiet reflection feels like home, you are warmly invited to subscribe, gently, in your own time. And if you wish, share in the comments where you are listening from and the time on your clock, so our little constellation of listeners can glow a bit brighter together. Let us take a soft breath as the journey begins. Inhale to welcome. Exhale to soften. Our first step is the one Leonardo trusted most, curiosity, not as a restless itch, but as our compass, pointing us toward what is alive and true. Curiosity, in Leonardo's world, was not a hobby. It was the anchor of human experience, the quiet force that steadies the boat while inviting us to sail. He lived between 1452 and 1519, and across those years his attention bloomed in every direction, painting and anatomy, geometry and music. His notebooks wandered through the living map of nature, anatomy, astronomy, botany, and even hydrodynamics, pages of questions unfolding like fern fronds after rain. For him, to be curious was to love the world without rushing it, to lean closer, to notice how shadow holds shape, how a heartbeat shapes a gesture, how a leaf repeats the sky's design in small. In this way, curiosity became both anchor and compass, keeping him still enough to see and pointing him gently to what asked to be seen next. We too can let curiosity be the soft hand on the shoulder that says, "Look here now and only here." Picture him in Milan at dusk, the day woven thin. He pauses by a canal, where lamplight meets ripples in quiet conversation. He kneels, fingers smudged with charcoal, and watches a fallen leaf spin in a small whirlpool. The water folds into itself, spiraling, returning, expanding, each motion a question. He sketches the dance of eddies, patient lines that circle and cross, as if noting the secret handwriting of the world. Somewhere nearby, a heron lifts, wings carving the air with measured strokes. Another question arrives. What patterns of wind and bone allow such flight? The same hand that could coax a smile from a painted face now traces the curve of a feather, the geometry of motion. In those moments serving the court in Milan, he wasn't collecting facts to hoard, but following one tender thread that led to another, and then another until a quiet tapestry formed. And so this ancient way of attending finds its echo in us, not as an obligation, but as a gentle following of what calls softly from the edges of our attention. In our fast world, streams of information compete for our breath. We scroll and skim, and the mind grows loud. This is not the curiosity Leonardo trusted. True curiosity does not pull us apart, it gathers us. It is the question that eases the shoulders when we line into it, the one that makes time feel kind. Tonight, perhaps choose one thread, not 10 to follow. Recall a moment from today when you felt a spark that did not tighten you but opened you. Maybe the way light rested on a cup, a line of music that made you pause, the shape of a cloud that reminded you of something you cannot name. Hold that moment gently, as if cupping water in your hands. Where do you feel it in your body, brow, chest, belly? Let your breath meet it. Inhale and invite it closer. Exhale and allow it to anchor you. If you like, whisper a question to it. What would you like me to notice next? Allow this thought to sit quietly with you as you rest, and let it guide the compass of tomorrow in the simplest way, one small, honest wonder at a time. As our compass of curiosity rests warm in the palm from last time, we find ourselves standing at the edge of a misted shoreline, gazing toward waters we cannot yet read. Fear of the unknown arrives like a cool wind across that fog, tightening the chest, shrinking our steps, offering a catalog of what-ifs. It tells us the untraveled path is dangerous simply because it is untraveled. And yet our compass hums softly, reminding us that attentive, slow noticing can be both guide and anchor even here. Tonight we explore how fear narrows our world and how a gentle, sustained curiosity can widen it again. Not by rushing, not by conquering, but by befriending the first doorway we meet. Imagine fear not as a wall, but as a threshold with a curtain drawn. Our work is not to rip it open, but to lift one corner and let a little light in. One breath, one question, one small step. Let us take a soft breath together here, in through the nose, and out like a slow tide returning to the sea. We begin. There was a winter evening when Leonardo stood before another kind of threshold, the sealed rooms of the human body. He had stepped beyond the comfort of speculation into the hush of an anatomy chamber, where the air held the faint sting of herbs, and a lamp threw a steady circle of gold onto linen. With the anatomist Marcantonio della Torre beside him, Leonardo turned pages, sharpened the point of his quill, and entered the uncharted with care. Around 1511, he created the studies of the fetus in the womb, drawings that revealed the child curled in darkness, the delicate paths of vessels, the architecture of becoming. In those sheets, he rendered the uterus as a single chamber, quietly challenging stubborn theories that spoke of many compartments, and he traced the uterine artery with a reverence for the exact. Consider the courage in that room, superstition at his back, mortality at the table, uncertainty everywhere, and yet the hand moved in steady arcs. He was not fearless, he was faithful to the inquiry. He asked the body 1,000 small questions and listened with ink. The unknown did not shrink him. He made a lantern of attention and carried it forward. And so, this ancient wisdom finds its echo in our own lives. The unknown appears as the email that doesn't arrive, the test results not yet posted, the change we can feel gathering but cannot yet name. It stands in new cities and first days, in quiet rooms after important conversations, in weather forecasts and headlines that tilt the heart. Our bodies brace, our thoughts race toward prediction, our world narrows to a tunnel of maybe. Here, the compass we cultivated becomes practical. We do not need to solve the whole night. We can choose one thread to follow. Ask a gentle question. What do I know right now in the living present? What is the smallest next step that would bring a handful of light? Perhaps it is one email drafted, one phone call scheduled, one page opened for notes, one warm conversation requested, one piece of data sought. Each small act is a lantern on the path. Curiosity, kept slow and honest, becomes our steadying hand again, neither denying fear nor bowing to it, but walking with it at a human pace. If you like, bring to mind one unknown that has been hovering at your threshold. See it without turning away. Name it softly, like introducing a guest. Now let 3 whisper questions arise. What tiny part of this can I understand today? Who or what might offer one true clue? What is the smallest humane action I can take within the next day? Allow the answers to be provisional, partial, imperfect, like first sketches before the painting. Let your breath keep time for you. In the space opens a little, out the ground meets your feet. As you rest tonight, imagine placing a quiet lantern at that threshold. No forcing, no rushing, only a soft light and a promise to return with your compass in the morning. Fear of the unknown may still visit, but curiosity will be there too, steady and companionable, ready to lift the corner of the curtain again. Let this thought sit beside you as you drift. You do not need to know everything to take one loving step. And step by step, the room becomes a home. As we continue, let us lean into a quiet truth Leonardo seemed to trust. Differences are not barriers, they are invitations. He did not separate the world into islands. He listened for its rhymes, the way a line of geometry hums with a musician's chord, the way a leaf's vein repeats in the branching of rivers and lungs. Harmony in diversity. We have already found our compass in curiosity, and we've learned to approach thresholds gently. Tonight, that compass becomes a loom. Thread by thread, one small question at a time, we weave strands of art and science, feeling and form, until a fuller picture softens into view. Imagine a circle meeting a square, 2 languages greeting each other with a bow. The circle offers wholeness, the square offers structure, and between them a human being stands, not torn between worlds, but held by both. Take a soft breath here, in through the nose, out through the mouth. If our past restlessness scattered us, this moment gathers us, patiently, kindly. And as we settle, we ready ourselves to see, as Leonardo saw, that unity is not a forced sameness but a conversation among differences, each voice contributing its tone to a larger music. Picture a wooden table, a quiet room, and a sheet of paper waiting. Around the year 1490, Leonardo draws a man within a circle and a square, inspired by the Roman architect Vitruvius and the treatise De Architectura. His compass opens like a small set of wings, calipers rest precise and patient. The pen, dipped in ink, whispers across the page. He measures not to imprison the body, but to listen to its secret intervals. The way an arm spans a harmony with a torso, the way the navel centers a roundness, the way feet and hands meet the world's edges. Above and below, his mirror script notes murmur, an intimate commentary between geometry and flesh. In this drawing, the Vitruvian man, the circle is not against the square. Each shape lends clarity to the other, and the figure becomes a bridge. The room smells faintly of oil and wood shavings. The light is calm and amber. Leonardo's gaze moves from curve to straight edge and back again, as if listening for when the two begin to sing together. Today, that fragile sheet rests in the Gallery dell'Accademia in Venice, rarely shown to light, a testament to a mind that trusted that art and science, when allowed to speak, complete each other. Take another gentle breath. And so this wisdom finds its echo in our own lives. We live in a time of many tabs open, many notifications tugging our attention into thin threads. It is easy to feel fragmented, as if our hours were scattered beads without a string. Leonardo's approach offers a soft remedy. Let your lenses talk to each other. If you are facing a thorny task, look at it as an engineer might. What are the moving parts? Then glance as a painter would. What is the composition, the light and shadow? As a naturalist, what seasonal pattern is this part of? As a musician, where is the rhythm steady? Where does it stumble? When we invite multiple ways of seeing, a problem is no longer a wall. It becomes a prism, revealing colors that were hiding inside the white glare. Remember our earlier practice, small, provisional steps. Lift the curtain only a little. Try one lens, then another. Each view adds a thread. Together, they form a sturdy braid. Breathe in softly, as if you are gathering strands. Breathe out, as if you are smoothing them into a pattern you can trust. Now let us turn inward with a simple invitation. Bring to mind one small challenge you are carrying, something everyday and manageable. Hold it gently, as if in cupped hands. Ask 4 quiet questions. What is its shape, its outline, its square? What is its center, its circle of meaning? How does it move? What rhythm, what pace does it ask for? And what does it touch? What relationships form its context? Perhaps you imagine a faint circle and square around this challenge, not to constrain it, but to orient you. In the circle, place what is essential and living. In the square, place what is structural and practical. Notice where they meet, where steadiness supports wholeness. If you wish, whisper one small step that respects both. A single action that is both true to the heart and clear in form. Inhale and let the idea arrive. Exhale and let it settle. Allow this question to rest with you. When I welcome diverse ways of knowing, what harmony begins to sound in my life. We continue together, listening for that quiet music, trusting that unity does not erase our differences. It lets them play in tune. Having set our compass of curiosity and learned to befriend the threshold of the unknown, we now step into the oldest classroom there is, the living world. Nature was Leonardo's quiet master, shaping both his art and his inquiry, not through commandments, but through patterns, rhythms, and forms that repeat with a gentle insistence. He treated leaf, bird, cloud, and current as instructors, each offering a lesson in how things become themselves. To him, the principles of nature were a blueprint, subtle, precise, and endlessly patient. And when we slow down, we can feel that same blueprint humming through our own attention. Let us take a soft breath here. Inhale, noticing the air that has brushed mountains and oceans before it reached you. Exhale and feel your body draw its lines back to stillness. Tonight we walk with Leonardo into this broader studio, where bark, wind, and water show us how to see without hurry, how to learn without force. Picture a dawn outside Milan, the fields still silvered by dew. A small bird lifts from a willow, not with drama but with measured confidence. The air opens to its motion. Leonardo watches, hands steady, eyes softer than the light. He traces arcs and intervals, how the wing pauses, how it gathers the sky and lets it go. Years later, he will sketch these insights in a slim manuscript, now known as the Codex on the Flight of Birds, around the year 1505, preserved today in the Royal Library of Turin, where a red chalk drawing widely regarded as his self-portrait also rests. Later that same morning, he kneels beside a young tree. He notes that the branching seems to keep a quiet promise. The strength divides, yet the whole remains balanced. The trunk gives, and the limbs share the load. He runs his fingers along a vein in a leaf, sees rivers in miniature, deltas, capillaries of green. Nature teaches in echoes, one form explaining another, until understanding arrives like dawn rising through mist. And so, this old wisdom finds its echo in our days of glowing screens and manufactured air. We live in rooms of straight lines, but our minds rest easier among curves and branching patterns, among rhythms that sway rather than click. When we let a fern, a cloud, or the arc of a wave become our tutor, we rediscover the unity we spoke of before, a conversation among differences, art and science listening to one another inside a single breath. A houseplant by the window can be a library. Watch the leaf tilt to drink the light, notice how its veins distribute nourishment, how the stem turns without haste. Even a puddle after rain instructs, surface still, depths murmuring, edges meeting the world in a soft negotiation. Let your breath follow these shapes, widening like a branch, settling like a stone in clear water. In this way, learning from nature is not escape, it is a homecoming to the patterns that already live in us. If your life feels enclosed by artificial walls, consider this a gentle invitation. Sometime today or tomorrow, step to a window, a doorway, or a small patch of sky. Choose one simple teacher, a leaf, a feather, a shell, a small stone, a cup of water. Give it 3 unbroken breaths of attention. First breath, what is its task in the world, and how does its shape serve that task? Second breath, where does it show balance? between strength and flexibility, between giving and receiving. Third breath, what whisper of design does it offer your next small decision? Allow these questions to sit quietly with you, like starlight gathering on a quiet path. In a world that often feels constructed and hurried, nature's patient geometry is still available, still generous. Observe one living pattern today and ponder its perfect design. Let this be our practice until we meet the next key, learning to carry the outside within gently, breath by breath. Let us rest together in the quiet craft at the heart of Leonardo's way, the art of observation. Not the hurried glance that skims the surface, but the lingering gaze that lets a scene disclose itself in its own time. We have already learned that curiosity can be a compass and an anchor. Tonight, observation is the gentle hand that steadies the lens. It is less about seeking new lands and more about seeing the familiar as if it were newly born. When we observe deeply, we don't force answers, we invite details to speak. A stitch in a sleeve, the way light folds at an edge, the hush before a word. Leonardo trained this way of seeing until it became a kindness toward the world, an ethics of attention. He understood that truth often hides in the small turn of a wrist, the slope of a shadow, the quiet geometry of a glance. So we will walk with him calmly, learning to notice the intricacies others pass by, not to become experts, but to become present. Take a soft breath here, as if polishing a lens from within. Inhale. And exhale slowly. We begin. Imagine a long, vaulted room in Milan, late afternoon, a gentle hush settling over stone and wood. In the refectory of Santa Maria del Grazie, between about 1495 and 1498, Leonardo lifts his eyes from the scaffold to study a wall that has become a world. His patron, Ludovico Sforza, asked for a Last Supper. Leonardo offers a living moment, the breath that follows a revelation. One of you will betray me. The room inside the painting mirrors the room around it. Perspective lines gather and draw us inward until they meet, quietly, just behind the head of Christ. Look slowly as he must have. The table is a calm horizon, and along it, waves of human feeling rise and break. Hands open in astonishment. One finger traces a question in the air. Shoulders tilt like small hills shifting. A hand reaches toward the same dish as Jesus, and a story deepens without a word. Even the bread and plates obey the geometry, turning with the space. The windows at the back breathe a pale distance. Leonardo's observation is not cold measurement, it is warm comprehension. He studies motion until emotion is visible, arranging bodies in clusters that converse, letting silence be painted as well as sound. And so, this patient seeing finds its echo in our own days. We move quickly, often pulled by glowing screens and lists, and the subtleties slip past. The softened tone that means a friend is tired, the way our own breath shortens when we race through tasks, the small invitation hidden in a doorway's light. Observation is how we return. It is how a meeting becomes a human encounter when we notice the hesitant smile before a yes. It is how a city street turns legible. The rhythm of steps at a crosswalk, the choreography of bicycles and birds, the gentle decree of a wind changing direction. In the studio of our lives, observation is an instrument that tunes everything else. It helps us compose with care, seeing the pattern beneath the pattern, the gesture behind the words. Where earlier we might have forced answers, now we can watch like Leonardo, letting forms organize themselves until meaning crystallizes, not through haste but through nearness. Let us take another soft breath here and feel the room we are in become more detailed simply because we are willing to look. A simple practice for tonight: choose a humble object near you, a spoon, a key, a leaf forgotten in a pocket, the corner of a notebook. Place it in your hand or set it before you. Inhale gently. Exhale more gently still. Now give it a minute of true attention. Trace its edge with your eyes, notice where it shines and where it dulls. Feel its weight, the temperature against your skin, the way it answers light with shadow. Tilt it slightly, watch the reflection travel like a quiet traveler. Ask in a whisper inside yourself, what have I never seen here before? When you find one new detail, a hairline scratch, a seam, a curve within a curve, let it be enough. Name it softly as if greeting a friend. Then widen your gaze to the space around you. One more breath. How does the world feel when you meet it with this care? Allow this question to sit with you as you rest. If I were to move through tomorrow with this kind of seeing, where would grace reveal itself? Quietly, patiently, the way a room in Milan once opened into a story of hands, light, and shared bread. Hold the question lightly and let your eyes grow warm with rest. As our path deepens, we step from careful seeing into the wide, luminous hall of imagining, where ideas stretch their wings before the world has asked them to be useful. We have practiced attentive noticing, felt how curiosity steadies the hand and opens the heart. Now we let that same curiosity become a doorway to invention, the place where insight puts on form the way dawn puts on color. In Leonardo's work, imagination was not an escape from reality. It was reality ripening, a tender blueprint of what might become. His sketches of flying machines were not just fantasies of the sky. They were conversations between wind and wood, between muscle and feather, between the known and the not yet known. We can walk with him here, gently honoring the truth that before every tool is a vision, and before every structure is a first, unguarded dream. Let us breathe softly with that thought, giving permission for a few quiet minutes to imagine without the weight of proving or defending. In this space, invention is the mind resting in wonder, and wonder learning how to speak. Picture a pale morning on a hillside, the wind combing the tall grass in slow currents. A man sits with a small book open across his knee. The page lifts at the edges like a sail. He watches swallows tilt and turn, listens to the way the air hums along their wings, and his hand begins to move. Around 1505, Leonardo gathered such observations in his codex on the flight of birds, now in the Royal Library of Turin, tracing how a body might borrow the sky's forces and translate them into lift. He sketched frames of wood, hinges that could flex, membranes of linen that would drink the wind. Stories say he even carried one contrivance to a hill near Florence, feeling the gust steady against the cloth, the whole design trembling like a living thought. Perhaps the air did not grant him height that day. Yet listen, the deeper ascent was already happening on the page, the patient geometry of hope, the disciplined dream learning its first verbs. He stood there not defeated, but in dialogue with the elements, letting failure become a teacher of weight, balance, and grace. And so, this ancient daring finds its echo in our lives whenever we cradle an idea and the stern voice of practicality arrives too soon. Deadlines, budgets, and calendars are good companions, but only when invited at the right moment. If they enter before the dream has taken its first breath, they can press it flat, the way a heavy book flattens a wildflower. What if we reversed the order, first the sky, then the measuring tape? First a sketch drawn by the heart, later the careful engineering, finally the test. This is not carelessness, it is sequence. We protect the newborn idea from the weather just long enough for its bones to form. Remember how earlier we practiced small, provisional steps at the edges of uncertainty. Here, we practice small, provisional visions, images that do not promise immediate utility, yet carry a pulse that feels true. By granting imagination a few quiet minutes without judgment, we let creativity become a bridge between attentive seeing and tangible making. So tonight, allow yourself a gentle experiment. Close your eyes if you wish and invite one fanciful idea to arrive. A device, a painting, a way of gathering people, a kindness shaped like a tool. For 5 slow breaths, let it be unbounded. Watch it assemble itself like a kite rising along a ribbon, catching a steady current of wonder. What shape does it choose? What forces support it? Wind, warmth, rhythm, trust. What problem does it soften, and what kind of quiet joy might it bring? There is nothing to justify here, nothing to sell or defend, only a form to meet with kindness. When the breaths are complete, place this idea on an inner shelf with your other patient observations. Tomorrow, you may invite practicality to join the conversation. For now, let imagination have the first word. Allow this question to rest beside you as you drift. If you could design freely for a few tender minutes each day, what new flight might your life attempt? Breathe and let the answer arrive in its own time. Tonight we step into the art of balance, the quiet craft of finding form within the swirl. We have wandered with curiosity as our compass, learned to approach thresholds gently, and watched attention grow steady like a lantern in dusk. Now we listen for the soft geometry that lives inside chaos, the way a dancer finds their center even as the music rises and falls. Leonardo understood that the world is lively, unruly, full of surprise, and yet within it there is an order that does not dominate but harmonizes. Balance here is not stiffness. It is a living symmetry, a poise that breathes. Imagine an axis running through a spinning top, invisible but faithful, letting motion continue without collapse. We will look for that axis in our days, not to force stillness, but to let movement become graceful. If you like, let your shoulders soften and take a slow, ordinary breath. Feel how even the inhale and exhale carry a gentle structure, rise, pause, fall, an architecture as humble as it is enduring. This is our approach to meet the swirl without fleeing, and to find within it a quiet line of alignment we can trust. There is a wall in Milan where chaos meets order with a single, steady gaze. Between 1495 and 1498, in the refectory of Santa Maria del Grazie, Leonardo painted the Last Supper. The scene is storm-bright with emotion, hands lifted, faces turned, bodies twisting at the shock of a revelation. It is as if conversation becomes wind, and the room begins to sway. And yet every line of the space, the edges of the table, the seams of the ceiling, the tiles on the floor, whispers toward a single point. All perspective converges quietly at the head of Christ, a calm eye in a human whirlwind. Leonardo lets movement live, he does not hush it. He gathers it. He organizes the tumult into clusters that speak to one another, and he frames it with a lucid design that gives the feeling of inevitability. This is where the gaze rests. This is where the story breathes. Look closely in your mind's eye, 3 windows opening to a pale horizon, the long table like a shoreline, the central figure forming a quiet triangle of stillness. Here, balance does not erase the storm, it gives the storm a center. And so, this old room in Milan offers a lesson for our modern rooms, our calendars, our screens, our crowded minds. The same pattern appears when notifications flash, when deadlines stack, when voices, outer and inner, overlap. We can choose a vanishing point for the day, a soft center to which the lines of our actions quietly align. Not a rigid rule, but a compass line drawn in kindness. Perhaps we say, today my center is care. Or today my center is one meaningful task completed well. Or today my center is breath. Then we let the room arrange around that choice. Like Leonardo's converging lines, we create simple guides. Place what matters most where your attention naturally falls. Group related tasks in small constellations. Allow moments of emptiness like those 3 windows, so the eye and the nervous system can see the horizon. You might try a tiny ritual. On the hour, 3 slow breaths, noticing the shoulders unfurl. Name your center softly. Align the next step to it. Return when you drift. Balance grows not from control, but from returning again and again to a chosen point of kindness. Let us try it now. Gently choose one place where chaos hums in your life. A desk, an inbox, a promise you made to yourself, a restless thought that keeps circling. Ask without pressure, what could be the center here? Is it clarity? Is it enoughness? Is it one small action I can complete with care? Take a slow breath. Picture 3 simple lines that help the rest fall into place. A time boundary, a gentle sequence, a tiny space for beauty, a clean corner, a glass of water, a fragment of music. Allow the swirl to continue, but let it circle something that steadies you. As you rest, hold this question lightly. Where might I create balance where chaos presently lives? Let the answer arrive at its own pace, like the eye finding the calm at the center of the room. We do not force symmetry, we invite it. We do not silence life, we shape it so it can sing. And when the day becomes noisy again, remember the long table, the converging lines, the quiet figure who gathers the storm without denying it. Return to your center softly, and let the rest arrange itself around that kindness. We have been traveling with curiosity as our quiet compass, and learning how a chosen center can steady us in movement. Tonight we place a small lamp upon the work table and ask a simple question. How do we come to know what is true for us here now? Leonardo's path offers a gentle answer. Knowledge ripens when the eyes, the hands, and the breath collaborate. Not belief alone, not theory alone, but contact, trial, attentive seeing. In a time that often preferred grand claims, he let the world speak through its own details, and he listened with patient experiments. This is a pathway we can walk softly together, grounded, like bare feet on warm stone, feeling reality as it is rather than as we imagine it should be. Let us begin slowly and allow the mind to relax into the honest weight of experience. Imagine his studio at dusk, shutters drawn to quiet the room. He makes a pinprick in the wood and lets a single beam of evening spill through. On the opposite wall, an upside-down image of the street appears, tiny figures gliding past, a carriage wheel turning, the sky gently reversed. He widens the pinhole, the picture brightens but softens. He narrows it, the picture dims but sharpens. No proclamation, no argument, just a careful note, a sketch, a small arrow in mirror writing, sharper with smaller aperture. Later, with the same fidelity, he draws the human hand from life, tendon crossing tendon, trusting what his eye and touch confirm rather than what a voice once told him must be there. In his notebooks, the truth does not arrive as thunder. It accumulates like layers of glaze on a panel, each test drying into clarity. This is how an empirical pathway feels, quiet, exact, and tender with reality. And so, this old wisdom finds its echo in our lives crowded with opinions and headlines. When the world shouts abstractions, we can return to a small experiment of our own and let the results hum softly in our bones. Perhaps we set a gentle hypothesis for tomorrow morning. If I breathe out slightly longer than I breathe in, 5 times, will my pulse ease and my thoughts widen? Or this one, if I keep my phone in another room for the first 10 minutes of work, will my focus gather more quickly? Or a simpler test still, if I sit by a window for 2 minutes before opening messages, does my mood tilt toward calm? We are not chasing perfection. We are gathering evidence like small pebbles in a pocket to feel the shape of what helps. In an era of abstract noise, this is a way to touch the ground again. Let us make it practical and kind. Choose one tiny question this evening. Phrase it gently. If I try X, will Y become a little easier? Decide on a modest trial, brief, humane, and clear. Then when the moment comes, breathe once, notice what happens, and write down one single line of result. No judgment, no grand theory, just a faithful note in your own hand. Over days, these notes become a quiet lantern you hold low before your steps, showing you which paths soften your heart and which tighten it. As you rest, allow this question to settle beside you like a smooth stone in the palm. What small experiment will I try, and what will I learn by simply looking? May the answer arrive lightly, and may your own experience become the friend that guides you home. Let us arrive softly at an old truth wearing new colors. The mind itself is an artist. In Leonardo's hands, ideas were pigments, questions were brushes, and attention was the slow, patient light that revealed form from emptiness. He did not wait for perfection to begin. He began, and perfection quietly, gently learned to follow. When we think of creativity, we often imagine a rare spark, a lightning flash that chooses a fortunate few. But the heart of creativity is simpler and kinder. It is the capacity to envision a whole from many small parts, to layer nuance like translucent glazes until something living appears. We carry this capacity, even when routine dulls our colors or the day's demands feel like gray weather. Tonight, we practice remembering. We turn toward the artistry of the mind, the gentle craft of seeing complexity and shaping it into calm coherence. Take a soft breath here, as if you were wetting a brush before the first stroke. Imagine a quiet room in Milan, a table scattered with small slips of paper, feathers sketched beside turning wheels, seeds beside arches, a curve of water echoing the curve of a human shoulder. He gathers fragments and arranges them like pieces of stained glass, letting the light of curiosity stream through. On one page he shades a shadow so tender it seems to breathe. On another he diagrams a machine that hums only in the theater of the mind. Centuries later, many of these leaves would be gathered into what we now call the Codex Atlanticus. 1,119 leaves spanning 1,478 to 1519, preserved in the Biblioteca Ambrosiana in Milan, evidence that a life of attention becomes a cathedral of thought. Picture his hand pausing, then returning, softening an edge with a touch of sfumato, letting forms blend until the boundary between art and inquiry dissolves. This is not frenzy. It is a measured, breathing composition, each note placed so the silence between notes can sing. And so this quiet method finds its echo in our lives. Our days scatter us with errands, notifications, tasks, the tiny shards of stained glass that seem unrelated and dull. Yet we can choose to become the window maker. We can hold a simple center, our chosen vanishing point, and let pieces take their places around it. One breath becomes the primer on the canvas. A small observation is a first color. An experiment, gentle and provisional, is the next layer. When routine feels heavy, we do not abandon the canvas. We add a lighter wash. When complexity feels loud, we do not erase the motif. We soften its edges until a pattern appears. Your mind is not a warehouse of facts. It is an atelier, a warm room of tools and light, where fragments meet, converse, and become something coherent. Notice how this reframing loosens the jaw, softens the shoulders, and gives permission for the masterpiece to be built in patient layers. Tonight, let us try a simple practice. Choose a gentle dream or goal, small enough to hold easily, meaningful enough to glow. See it resting on your inner work table. Now place 3 quiet strokes. First, whisper a title for this piece, no more than a few words, a name that feels kind. Second, choose a color for its mood, perhaps a deep indigo of calm focus or a warm gold of steady courage. Third, tap the chisel once. Name the smallest action you could take tomorrow that would leave a visible mark, a message sent, a page sketched, a 5-minute study. Let these 3 gestures rest with you like fresh gesso, setting overnight. Breathe in as if drawing a line. Breathe out as if softening its edge. Allow this thought to sit quietly with you. When the mind is trusted as an artist, even ordinary moments become strokes of a larger composition. Perhaps we can hold this question gently as we drift. What small shape will my hands carve from tomorrow's block of time? In our shared atelier of the mind, we come now to a quiet discipline, the sculpture of thought. Not adding more, not rushing to decorate, simply removing what does not belong until the essential line appears. We have wandered through curiosity, we have trusted small experiments, and we have learned to set a living center that steadies us. Here we practice a gentler bravery, letting go of excess so the hidden form of peace can emerge. Imagine that every day delivers a block of impressions, opinions, alerts, plans. Inside that block, something true waits with patience. Our work is not to force a shape, but to discover the one already there by carefully taking away what keeps us from seeing. Like a craftsperson who trusts the feel of the tool's weight and the whisper of stone dust, we listen for the soft yes that tells us we've revealed a line, and the soft no that says we have layered too much. This is not austerity, it is kindness to the mind. When we pare down, attention can breathe. Let us take one easy breath here, in and out, and turn to a scene that shows how subtraction becomes a path to clarity. In Milan, a commission arrived in 1482 from Ludovico Sforza, asking for a monumental horse, an image of power shaped from living knowledge. Years of study followed, and by November 1493, a full-size clay model stood unveiled at a Sforza wedding, a towering creature of earth and intention. Picture the courtyard's hush, the faint grit underfoot, the murmur of silk and boot leather, and there, a horse that seemed to breathe. Clay remembers the hand. You can almost see the looped wire sliding through soft earth to lift away a ribbon that was too much. A thumb mutes a ridge so the shoulder can speak. A small tool opens a channel where tendon travels, and the leg becomes a sentence that makes sense. The secret is not in adding, but in recognizing, in feeling with the fingertips when the surface tells the truth. The audience sees grandeur, the maker hears the quiet conversation, not this, not that, yes, here. Metal would later be diverted to other needs, and soldiers would one day scatter the clay, but this is not a story of loss. It is a story of a gesture revealed by removing what was not the gesture, a memory of form that survives because it was discovered with care. The hands teach us, clarity often comes by lifting away what obscures. And so this old courtyard finds its echo in our own lives, where the day arrives heavy with layers. Messages, obligations, summaries of summaries. The mind becomes a crowded workshop, every surface busy. We have learned to choose a center, a living vanishing point to hold our gaze. Now we allow subtraction to align the lines that lead toward it. Consider your to-do list as a rough block. Instead of asking what more, try what can be removed without loss. If 3 tasks carry the day's gesture, let the others soften at the edges and wait. If a conversation is layered with explanations, try lifting one sentence away until the meaning stands more clearly. Let the breath be your gentle chisel, an easy inhale to sense the mass, an unforced exhale to set down one fragment of mental noise. Subtraction is not refusal, it is hospitality, making room for the essential to take a seat where you can hear it. In the atelier of the mind, we began to layer with patience. Now we practice the counter-movement, the art of restraint, so the composition can breathe. This is how the scattered becomes coherent, not by force, but by clearing a path for the line that wants to live. For a moment, close the workshop door in your imagination and feel the quiet settle. In your inner hands, hold a small block called Today. Ask softly, what is the gesture hidden inside? With your next exhale, set down one thing that is not that gesture, just for now. Perhaps it is an old worry repeating, perhaps a task that can rest, perhaps a sentence you no longer need to explain. Place it gently on the floor, as if it were a curl of clay lifted away. Breathe in and sense what remains. Breathe out and set down one more small fragment. Allow the emerging form to be simple. Let it be one clear line, one quiet priority, one kindness toward yourself or another. If a question helps, hold this one lightly. What can I remove, just a little, to let the essential become visible? No rush, no verdicts, only the listening we have practiced all along. As you drift toward rest, imagine brushing away the last dust so the form can be seen, and feel the relief that follows. In the sculpture of thought, we do not conquer, we reveal. May tonight's quiet reveal enough for your next gentle step. Tonight we rest inside a simple promise, that the scattered specks of a day can be gathered into a gentle whole. Leonardo lived this promise. In his hands, stray lines became figures, stray figures became worlds, and the world itself felt like a pattern softly revealing itself. We have already learned to steady our gaze, to ask small questions, to carve away what is not essential. Now we arrive at a quiet art of weaving, of letting what seems unrelated line toward what it, in truth, completes. Life often appears as fragments. A quick exchange at the doorway, the smell of tea, a sentence overheard, a worry that passes like a cloud. These pieces can feel like stars scattered across a dark sky. But if we are patient, a constellation appears. Leonardo trained himself to notice kinships hidden in plain sight, the way a curve in drifting smoke echoes the bend of a riverbank, the way the rhythm of a footstep mirrors the spacing of columns. He did not force unity, he invited it. And so do we here together. Let us take a soft breath in and out, and set the intention to allow our day's small specks to touch, to relate, to hum in chorus rather than confusion. We are not solving a puzzle, we are listening for the music within it. Imagine a quiet afternoon in a Milanese room, the kind of light that slants and warms a table without asking for attention. Dust hangs like a gentle galaxy. Leonardo stands close to the window, sorting scraps. Here a clipped sketch of a screw turning through air, there a quick note on how water whitens where it breaks, and beside them a few lines on the breath of a candle. He opens a thin notebook we now call the Codex Leicester, a set of 36 sheets where he wrote about water, rocks, fossils, light, observations strung like pearls of thought, later passing through centuries until in 1994 it was sold at auction, carrying forward the quiet of these pages to modern hands. He traces a fingertip over a small drawing of a whirl, then looks across the room to a length of fabric draped over a chair. The same spiral whispers in the fold of the cloth. He hums almost to himself. A note from the lute nearby seems to echo a curve he has just drawn. On his table, chalk dust, a dried leaf, a compass slightly open, and a pin mark on a map of a nearby stream begin to agree with one another. He does not force them to match. He allows a theme to emerge, like a shy bird stepping from shade to sun. In the quiet joining of these particulars, a whole takes breath. And so, this old way of seeing finds its echo in us. Our days can feel like scattered notes, messages, errands, shifting news, a conversation that tugged at the heart, a glance out a window at rain beating on glass. We have practiced a chosen center, a living vanishing point to hold our balance. We have cared for the atelier of the mind, laying down strokes with patience, and we have carved away, gently, what hides the essential. Now we let the remaining pieces be placed beside one another until they begin to speak. Imagine a small table within you. On it lay 3 specks from today, perhaps the warmth of a cup in your hands, a line you read that stayed behind your eyes, and the way a stranger's kindness lingered like a low flame. With an easy breath, place these 3 in a triangle. Between them, draw a light thread of relation, warmth leaning toward words, words leaning toward kindness, kindness returning to warmth. Do not argue with the thread. Let it find its own path. Notice how the triangle holds shape, how the day's rhythm changes when seen as a pattern rather than a pile. This is integration, not forcing sameness, but inviting conversation until harmony arrives. As you settle deeper, allow a simple invitation to keep you company. Close your eyes and on your next slow inhale, gather 3 small fragments from the day. On the exhale, let them rest together. No fixing, no judging. Ask quietly, what gentle story are you telling when I let you touch? Feel where the answer stirs, perhaps in the chest, the belly, the throat. Breathe there. If a 4th piece arrives, let it stand at the edge like a friend joining the circle. If nothing arrives, let the empty space be part of the design. We are learning the craft Leonardo practiced, offering our attention until the world reveals the lines that already join it. When tomorrow scatters its specks again, remember this small table within and the thread you carry in your quiet hand. Let this thought sit with you as night deepens. Every fragment longs for its chorus, and your listening is the gentle conductor. Rest inside that soft music now. As our shared journey draws close to its quiet shore, let us look back with soft eyes at the paths we have walked. From the first spark of curiosity to the tender art of attention, from the courage to approach thresholds to the grace of letting differences converse, each step has shaped a gentle melody in us. Tonight that melody settles, like dusk light finding the contours of a familiar room, revealing what has been here all along. A steadier breath, a kinder gaze, a patient mind. Let us take a slow inhale together and an even slower exhale. We are ready to gather what we've learned into a simple, living shape we can carry with ease. And we might imagine it this way: all we've studied, nature's patterns, careful observation, the protection of imagination, the carving away of the inessential, the weaving of scattered moments, are stars in an inner sky. They do not demand our certainty. They ask only to be seen, then gently connected by a thread of breath and kindness. And there is a story I love to picture, not as a fixed record, but as a quiet scene that feels true to Leonardo's spirit. A late evening, a small upper room with a shutter half open to a cool night. The air carries the scent of damp stone and distant leaves. On a long table lie pages, rivers in ink, studies of wings, faces in turning light, small experiments in the geometry of movement. A moth visits the lamp, then drifts away. An apprentice, maybe Melzi, maybe another, arranges the sheets into quiet constellations across the wood, not by subject but by resonance. A curl of water beside a curl of hair, the branching of an oak near the branching of a vein. A series of tiny notes on light placed next to the shadow under an eyelid. Leonardo enters with the hush of someone who respects night. He does not rush the arrangement. He turns one page, then another, listening with his eyes. When he pauses, it is not indecision, it is care. He traces a faint line between studies that echo one another, as though connecting stars on a chart no one else has yet learned to read. In a corner, a small note about trees, how the branches together equal the strength of the trunk, rests beside a study of a river splitting around a stone, and suddenly the room becomes a field of relationships. Years later, these reflections would be gathered by Francesco Melzi into what we now call the Treatise on Painting, with an abridged version published in 1651, a testament that even scattered leaves can form a living book. But in this moment there is no book, only the soft choreography of attention. Leonardo closes his eyes, inhales, and lets the pages speak to one another. And so this ancient way of seeing finds its echo in our own lives. We too return to our small upper rooms at day's end, carrying sketches of experience. A conversation that warmed us, a problem that bent our brows, the texture of rain on a window, a sudden idea that arrived like a bird and then circled away. We lay them down on the table of the mind. If we scatter them, we feel scattered. If we ask them to cohere by force, we feel brittle. But if we listen with the curiosity that steadies, with the chosen center that harmonizes movement, with the gentle experiments that ground us in the real, they begin to arrange themselves. The day's whirlpools become legible patterns. The atelier of the mind grows quiet, and each stroke remembers its place in the larger composition. We protect imagination long enough for it to reveal a path. Then we sculpt away what is not needed, revealing a form that has always been sleeping inside the marble of our hours. And you may find that what once felt like chaos now resembles a sky after rain, where stars reappear one by one. There is the star of curiosity, the soft hand on your shoulder, guiding without pushing. There is the star of patient observation, the willingness to see what is actually there. There is the star of the chosen center, the vanishing point in you that does not erase movement, but gathers it into meaning. Nearby shine the stars of small experiments, of kind subtraction, of integration without force. Breathe in and let them brighten. Breathe out and draw thin lines between them, noticing the constellation that forms. And if you like, close your eyes now. Let your jaw unclench. Let your shoulders descend by the weight of a falling leaf. Inhale slowly, feeling cool air touch the back of the throat. Exhale even slower, as if you are fogging a mirror with tenderness. See the inner sky appear, the one only you can see. Place a small light for something you learned about looking. Place another for a time you chose a gentler question over a louder answer. Place a third for a moment today in which you let one thread be enough. Notice how they align, not by logic alone, but by kinship. Draw a line of breath between them. This is your constellation for tonight. And if a stray worry arrives, like a bird unsure of where to rest, let it perch at the edge of this sky without entering the figure you are drawing. You might whisper to it, "We will look at you with care in the morning." For now, rest among the trees. Then return your attention to the lights you have arranged. Let the day's rough stones sit beside the smooth river of your breath, and watch how both belong. And allow this thought to rest with you. Nothing essential has been added from the outside. We have only revealed and arranged what was waiting within. The wisdom of Leonardo, his wide, steady curiosity, his way of listening to the world's secret handwriting, has been a mirror in which we recognized our own capacities. As we approach sleep, consider how you might carry one small star with you into tomorrow. Perhaps it is a single question you will ask softly as you make tea. Perhaps it is a minute of watching the light move across a surface, or a choice to remove one thing that blocks your view of what matters. And for now, let the room within grow dim and kind. Let your breath draw the final lines of tonight's constellation, then set the drawing down beside the heart. As your body grows heavier, the sky above grows clearer. Inhale. Exhale. These lessons are not departing. They are becoming stars, quiet and sure in your inner sky. And there they keep their gentle promise to guide you, without hurry, toward the peace you were seeking and the peace that was seeking you. Sleep if it comes. Or simply rest in the soft knowledge that you are already under a faithful constellation of your own making. Equanimity tonight is our final lantern, not the absence of weather, but the steady mast that rides the tide without tearing. After a journey of gentle questions and small experiments, we arrive at a simple, spacious truth. Calm can be practiced. Leonardo understood this in his bones. The painter's hand does not banish motion. It rests within it, finding a quiet fulcrum at the wrist while the world swirls around the canvas. Think of the living vanishing point we found together, a chosen center that organizes movement rather than battling it. Equanimity is that center expressed in feeling, a soft alignment of breath, attention, and intention. As planets travel their patient orbits, as a compass needle returns to north, our mind too can remember its home and return. We are not trying to freeze life. We are letting harmony appear as if a faint music were always there, waiting for us to listen. Let us take a slow breath together, in through the nose, softly out through the mouth. With each exhale, we set down a weight. With each inhale, we lift a light brush, ready for the next tender stroke of this day's canvas. Picture him late in his life, in a quiet room in France, invited there by a king who admired his mind. A wooden window is ajar, the air is cool. On the table, a small compass, a scrap of paper, a candle steady as a star. He holds his quill above the page and waits a heartbeat longer than habit, feeling weight settle into the hinge of his hand. Outside, the river moves, not hurried, not slow, just itself. Inside, the line begins, unbroken, unforced, breathing with him as it travels. The world is not quieter tonight, the world is not kinder. Yet in this room, cadence is chosen. He has spent a lifetime listening to water, clouds, wings, and bones, and now the listening becomes a posture of peace. Many of these moments of careful seeing were left as leaves of thought that would later be gathered into the Codex Atlanticus. 1,119 pages spanning 1,478 to 1519, now kept in Milan's Biblioteca Ambrosiana, a galaxy of attention bound in leather. Equanimity is there between the lines, a patient hand, a measured breath, an orbit found and kept. And so this old wisdom finds its echo in our own rooms. Anxiety tightens like an overwound spring. It narrows our field until we forget the horizon. We can meet it as Leonardo might, not by wrestling the night, but by softening the gaze and returning to the vanishing point we choose. One breath to notice the tightening. One breath to loosen the grip, shoulders lowering, jaw unhooking, belly unclasping. One breath to take a small, kind action. Dim a light, slow a task, set tomorrow gently in a corner of the mind. Think of your attention as the painter's brush. You steady the hand at the wrist, your breath, and then you lay down color where it belongs. Let your plans be drawn like an orrery, each sphere moving in time with the others. Let your emotions be held with sfumato, edges softened by patience, so forms can meet without collision. What we practiced, curiosity as compass, experiment as grounding, subtraction as clarity, now gathers into balance. This is not escape, it is composure, an artistry of staying. As you settle toward sleep, allow calm reflections to guide you, like quiet stars mapping the night's gentle turning. Ask softly, where in my canvas tonight is the most compassionate center? What one small stroke can wait until morning, and which single stroke wants to be laid down now with ease? Feel the breath as a balance wheel, steady, reliable, challenging anxiety's grip not with force, but with even rhythm. Inhale, the palate opens. Exhale, the colors blend. Inhale, you remember that harmony is possible. Exhale, you remember that it is here. Perhaps let one hand rest lightly over the heart, the other over the belly, and notice the two tides meeting. Hold this question as you drift. What does a painter's steady hand look like in my life tomorrow? May your night be a studio of peace, your sleep an unworried horizon, and your waking, when it comes, a gentle continuation of this practiced equanimity. For now, rest. The canvas will wait, and the stars will keep their patient time.